It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. For those of you just tuning in, this is one of my favorite times of year. This is when we do our nonprofit series on Her Success Story. We take the weeks during the holidays from Thanksgiving through very often after New Year's and only focus on nonprofits and nonprofit leadership. This is 100% because I'm a firm believer that the holidays are about giving and receiving. If we can all learn more how to give the various nonprofits that are out there, they're big, they're small. So many of us know the really big ones, and many of us are already involved in many of the big ones and are part of that industry. Today's interview is with Dr. Tara Chalakani, who is the national mental health expert and dynamic leader. She's the CEO of Preferred Behavioral Health Group. I'll consider this on the scale of a smaller nonprofit because it's something that I'm just learning about as Tara and I have gotten to know each other in the past couple of months. And I find her work important, valuable. She is warm. She is brilliant. I could read all about her bio, but I'm going to tell you, you read her bio. And Tara, please join me on Her Success Story and share with us your journey and your passion about nonprofits and, most importantly, the mental health field.
Thank you, Ivy. It's a pleasure to be here. And these are my favorite topics to talk about, mental health and the wonderful organization I get to lead. So Preferred Behavioral Health Group, like you said, is a nonprofit organization serving the entire state of New Jersey. We were founded in 1978 by two clinicians, started very small, and as the landscape of mental health care changed and as funding became more accessible, the organization grew and grew and grew to what it is today, which is a $39 million organization.
Wow.
Yes, with 500 employees and serving almost 30,000 unduplicated individuals annually.
So it's so interesting because we still consider these small or regional nonprofits,
Yeah,
yet that is a massive impact.
for
But
sure.
I have to start with you
Okay.
because you are fascinating, warm. How did you end up getting into this field and leading this organization?
Well, I actually started working at Preferred Behavioral Health Group almost 20 years ago
Oh,
as a psychiatric nurse, part-time, while I was finishing grad school to be a psychotherapist.
lovely.
And I've had a 35-year career in healthcare,
So
but
clearly you started what about was that 10 or 12 or maybe
for
13?
five. But I had always been in healthcare, always had a fascination for psychology and psychiatric nursing, but that's not where my path took me. And I was at a point in life where I could pivot and decided to further my education. And I started working there part-time. And the years passed and time went on, and I actually left Preferred for a few years to work back in the for-profit sector and just wasn't happy and always stayed in contact with my friends at Preferred. And I returned 10 years ago to start their children's outpatient program, then became the vice president of mental health services for youth and families, then became the chief of quality. And this is now my third year as CEO. So it was a very, I guess you would call it a linear trajectory, but all because of hard work and recognition for a job well done.
I happen to love that. One of the things that when you said I kept in touch with,
Hmm.
one of the founding principles of how I live, as well as Slater Success, is recognizing and staying in touch with all the relationships that we build over the years. And that relationships are the foundation of so many opportunities.
Agreed. And I certainly conduct myself in the same way, and it's genuine. It's never calculated. It's not I'm not staying in touch because I want something from someone. It's because I genuinely do care, and I think a lot of my success along the way has always been because of building relationships and sometimes friendships if we're lucky enough.
Exactly. Exactly. So, were you always focused with children in the mental health sector, or is that something that developed for you over time? This
Well,
is just a pure Ivy curiosity question,
yeah,
and then we're going
sure,
to go back to
sure.
preferred.
Of course. So, when I started my career in healthcare as a nurse, I was a neonatal intensive care unit
There you
nurse.
go.
So, my foundation was in the NICU. I did pediatric home health care. So, I weaved in and out, but treating children, healing children has always been a very focal point of my career. I mean,
Near
now,
and dear to your heart.
yes. Children are just amazing little creatures. And when they have the right environment, the right person in their corner, the right ingredients, I mean, the way that they can blossom and soar is really breathtaking. I love the work that we do, and I cry tears of joy on a regular basis at work because there's always an amazing story to be shared or something incredible where maybe at Preferred we had someone that was in the foster care system and we provided them with services and now they work for us and they're doing the same work that we did with them. So these moments are just so amazing and inspiring.
Yeah, and that's truly giving forward.
Yes,
It's truly, truly giving forward, and that touches
it
so
does.
importantly. How did you find the transition from a mental health practitioner, so to speak,
Mhm.
to leadership and CEO? That's not necessarily the same job description, the same work. How did you find that transition for you?
It was organic in a way. I've always had a very entrepreneurial spirit. And in the years that I transitioned out of direct patient care, I was a marketing director for a healthcare company for profit, started a couple of businesses of my own. So, two of which are currently thriving. And so I've
Just saying, just
Thank
saying.
you. Thank you. Girl power. We can do it all and we can have it all. P.S.
But want to talk about founding principles, a little bit of what I believe and what Slater success has been founded on all these years is one of them is showing up with a what can I do attitude.
I love that. So,
And
I mean, it
that's what you're
happened.
talking about.
Yeah, it happened quite organically for me. And I've had a lot of, what's the word? Not classroom education, so to speak, but
Uh,
experiential. Ex-
Life education.
sure.
I'll call that life education, experiential
Yes.
education.
Birth
It's in
school.
the world we live. It's the experience we have, whether it be from a smaller, intimate basis or a larger basis of the worlds we live in.
hmm So that transition was organic, really. And, I've educated myself I did a leadership fellowship program,
Yes.
I have a certificate in nonprofit leadership. So I've always subscribed to the fact that we're never done. We're lifelong learners. We're never too old. We're never know-it-alls. So I've always kind of peppered in some additional training and education if I felt like I needed to know more to do better. So,
I have to tell you, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I always say, if I'm done learning, I'm done in life.
sure, sure.
That's how important it's like, oh my goodness, this is so much, it's so interesting. How can I know more about it?
Exactly. And I think that curiosity is fuel. It keeps us rejuvenated, it keeps us going, motivated. So I love learning and I love acquiring a new skill or learning a new talent, whatever that may be. So I couldn't agree with you more.
So, share a little bit about the journey and the growth of Preferred Behavioral Health Group.
Well, it's been tremendous. And like I said, the organization is creeping on 50 years of age. And
Woohoo!
I
50
know.
years of the importance of mental health is a big freaking deal.
Yes, yes. And so mental health care and caring for those who are struggling has always been the focal point and our mission. So it's been kind of fascinating in the last 5 years after the pandemic, where people are talking about, a mental health crisis. And I love it because it put what we do each and every day on everyone's radar, but nothing has changed for us. The people that have always needed us still continue to need us. And I love mental health awareness and normalizing discussions about mental health because there should never be shame or stigma. It's a health issue. We're not divided here at the neck and, this goes to this doctor and the rest of us goes to another. We're
Right.
one. So I love that people are talking about it more, but our growth has really been incremental and exponential simultaneously. I mean, to think about how we started and where we are now, and we continue to grow, a lot of it, though, has been due in part to grant funding, whether at the federal level or the state level, an awareness of need. And then we have been able to expand based on receiving a grant for X service in Y area, so we've been able to expand organically in that way because it's hard with nonprofits. We don't have a lot of disposable resources. So it's not like, oh, we want to set up shop in this county. We really don't have the funds to do that. So we rely on grants and programmatic funding that allows us to expand our reach.
In the work you have led in the last few years,
Mhm.
what has been some of your bigger visions?
Mm.
Because I think sometimes when we look at nonprofits, we forget the best things about nonprofits is they run as a business. And in order to grow, we want to be looking at our big visions. Like, what are those big audacious goals? What are those bigger visions? And then it trickles down into the impact that nonprofit makes, which is so important.
So if any of my team were here, I think they would be able to answer this question because my mantra to them is that I want preferred behavioral health group to be to mental health what Memorial Sloan Kettering is to cancer care.
Nice.
I want us to be a brand that people are aware that they are excellent, they are the experts, and when you or someone you love is struggling, that's your first phone call. So that's the big goal. That's
Okay.
the big one. So
And that's a great goal.
so, how do we do that? I tell my whole staff this when we have meetings that you are the CEO of your own role, that no one in our organization is more important than the next person, that
Mhm.
everybody's role is incredibly significant and important, and that the way you show up, how you interact, how you present yourself, that's on you. Not an external force. Like you're in control of this. So we really breed a culture of excellence, of compassion, of integrity. We want to be the best in the business. And I think, by many measures, we are. We've just won Best Place to Work in New Jersey for the
Woohoo!
second
That's
year in a
huge.
row. Yes, for a large company, nonprofit and for profit. Are individually, we're consistently being recognized for awards and accolades. Our turnover is low, our retention is high, our tenure is extraordinary. We just had a therapist celebrate 40 years of service with
Wow.
us.
That steals my breath because
Incredible.
that's an organization that has been run for many, many years.
That's right.
At let's just look at it as the letter A, right? When we
Yes.
look at those gradings, sometimes you pass these restaurants and you see how it's graded and you're like, oh, I want to go in there. It's an A. That's
Yes.
an A plus
Yes.
when you're looking at employee retention that long, when you're looking at team who are together, that are driven together over that period of time is massive.
That's right. That's right. So we're very proud of that. So there's so many metrics that indicate that we are doing the job that we expect to do. And I think the other big goal would be to branch out of New Jersey. We're not quite there yet, but it's certainly something that's on my vision board.
I love that.
Yes.
Because if you have grown and made this impact within New Jersey and
Mhm.
touched so many people, 30,000 individuals a year, what can the ripple impact be as you grow forward?
Yes, yes, for sure. And that 30,000 number, Ivy, is just direct care. We have prevention programmings where we go into schools and do education and trainings. That number is probably creeping closer to 100,000. It's impressive the number of lives that we are privileged to touch every year.
So I want to ask you this. You're very passionate about women leadership
I am.
based on and you've had some obstacles in your own in your own journey, if I put it
Yes.
that way. And I know you still keep your own private practice going as well as running this organization
Mhm.
because how important it is for you to be able to touch that individual as well.
Yes.
How have you managed as a woman, as a leader, to navigate the obstacles that have come your way that has brought your passion around women leadership?
Well, I think it's a couple of things, Ivy. And first, and in no particular order, but it is important that you have to have the right people around you. And
Mhm.
I don't necessarily mean on your team. That's critical, but in your personal life too, because I feel very passionately that there has to be authenticity and congruency across the board. I've said this to clients, to people in my own life, that you can't be a success at work and then go home and your life be in shambles. That does not work. And eventually it becomes unsustainable. So I'm very fortunate to have a husband who watched his father adore his mother. And so my husband, is my greatest cheerleader. He is there to encourage me every step of the way. So I think that's important. The cadre of women around me, we all support one another. We all respect each other's boundaries. We all give more than we take, and that's important. So I think, when you have that behind you, it's easy to walk into your office with your tank full. So that is something that I find to be extremely important. Taking care of myself. We have a culture at Preferred which we're very proud of, and it's a trauma informed culture, which
Okay,
means we know everyone has experienced some form of trauma in their life, whether a lowercase
true,
t or capital T. And
true.
that affects how they enter the workspace. So, knowing that we have a culture where all of our interactions are to be trauma informed. So, we really live by this culture. And it's a very rich culture, I believe, to help people grow and thrive and feel safe when they're at work. That is something that is important. But the other piece of it is in order to be trauma informed, you really have to engage in self-care, because if you don't do the work, you can't do the work that we're tasked to do. So I don't only talk, I walk the walk. And I think that that is a culture too, and something that I think is very important to me, because strong body, strong mind. So I don't start the day without some form of exercise, some form of spiritual nourishment,
Yeah.
taking care of myself. So that's important too. Our mantra at Preferred is you can't pour from an empty cup. I think that's important. And I think a lot of women think that caring for themselves is selfish or egocentric. And I hope that the needle moves a little every day in the direction of embracing how important it is that we have to take really good care of ourselves.
I
Um,
can't tell you how many times a day, a week, a month, I share the wonderful announcements made on an airplane.
mm,
Put
mhm,
your
mhm.
oxygen mask on first because you cannot
Yes,
help anybody if you cannot breathe yourself. You're of no
yes,
help.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think women so need to take that into. I started this Monday morning with a workout, and then I do a little bit of journaling and a short meditation, and I find my own center so
Mhm.
I can be grounded to be present and give to the people around me every day. But if I don't do that for myself, then
Mhm.
I don't care enough about myself to say I care about others
Right. Right. For
because
sure.
I'm not important. So I don't see my importance to reflect them,
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate the validation because it's so true.
Mhm. It just sets up our days.
It really does. And then, the other thing that I think has helped me is that I have a really strong spiritual side of myself, that I'm not all logic
Okay.
and business, that I, do have a strong spiritual life, and that's an anchor. It helps, in rough times and getting through a bad day, and having a belief that tomorrow will be better, and remaining optimistic. So I think that that is something that has definitely helped me through challenging times.
I'm going to ask you this question that I've asked so many.
Mhm.
What has surprised you in your own journey?
Mm. Truly, how far I've come, because statistically, Ivy, I'm an anomaly. I was born to a teen mom, unmarried. She relied on welfare and food stamps when I first was born. I mean, my mother has her own success story of her own, but I witnessed domestic violence, food insecurity at times, just so many challenges in my life. And you asked me about my ethnicity before we started recording, and I'm a Latina, and less than 1% of CEOs in the United States
Right?
are Latino. So that is something that I think about a lot every day, and how I have a responsibility to just, the Latinx community at large, to show up and do the work and continue to grow and to thrive. But I mean, statistically, a lot of odds were against me. And so that blows my mind. And none of it, my success was easy, but it's certainly a lesson in persevering, in knowing that you are your only competition, nobody
Right.
else. And no matter what job I've held, I've always shown up and given it 1,000%, and never was worried what the other person was doing, or I was just focused on me. And I'm a yoga practitioner, and it's so synonymous to that. Like,
Why am I not surprised?
but when you're on your mat, it doesn't matter what that person is doing. It doesn't
They're here.
matter that that one can wrap their leg around their head. That's their story, not yours. So I live my life with that principle. Like, I focus on me, but not in an exclusive way. I'm very warm and open and generous, but I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm in competition with me. And even people will ask me, Ivy, who is Preferred's biggest competitor? And I say, I don't have competitors. I have collaborators. I have peers, that we're all in this together. I'm
We
not
are.
trying to beat my friend who is the CEO of a similar organization. Like, we're all in this together. There's enough work to go around. Like, that's such a interesting question that I get asked a lot, and I don't see it that way. We all help each other out.
I happen to agree with you. And I have said numerous times if I listened to or believed all the people who told me I couldn't do,
Mhm.
going back, I remember specifically a high school teacher who thought I was a walking moron,
Mm.
you know,
We've all had one of those.
right? And kept it going of all the things I couldn't do. And you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. And I believed it for so long. Yet I kept doing.
Mhm.
And it is through having that support, having people, surrounding yourself with people, and doing the inner work
Mhm.
for yourself and creating that space for yourself. Tara, you are a joy. You are brilliant. You are a role model to so many for women leaders in the nonprofit space, in the Latina community, but more than anything, for just showing up with your heart, your transparency, and your willingness to help and bring others along with you, which I think is one of the most impressive, beautiful things I see.
Thank you, Ivy. That's very kind. I actually recently was honored for a very humbling award from Seroptimist International,
Ooh,
Woman of Distinction. And it was very emotional and very humbling because I say this personally, but I say it for my entire organization. We all show up every morning. We know what our purpose is, we know what our passion is, and we do the work with no expectation of an accolade or an award. So when someone recognizes
yeah,
that, it's always very humbling. And I am a champion of women because how could I not be, right? To whom much is given, much is required. How could
exactly.
I ever, and it's just inherent to who I am, but to be in this position, of course, I'm going to build women up. And I hope that someday, when my time ends at Preferred, my career ends there, that the women that I have built up working on my team will all have equal opportunity to be the next CEO, and that my board would have multiple choices to
Right.
choose from because I've groomed them and, elevated them in their careers. So it's very important to me.
I love that. Dr. Tara,
Yeah.
thank you for joining me here on Her Success Story. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for highlighting your leadership, your brilliance as a CEO, and the passion that you bring to Preferred Behavioral Health Group as part of our nonprofit series, and that we can stand as Her Success Story and share more about the importance of mental health. It is vital for leadership.
Amen. And thank you, Ivy. It's been a pleasure.
So, listeners, this is what I say at this point, ladies and gentlemen, nonprofit leaders, people passionate about nonprofit. I'll always say take a deep breath in, identify one takeaway from our conversation with Tara today, one takeaway, and then make a decision on what you can do with that takeaway. What is one thing you can implement? One thing that's going to take you forward. And I'm going to do a blatant ask this time. If all of our interviews, and there's less than 10 people, there's six or five, six, seven, eight, it varies every year. But if we gave $10 to every nonprofit we heard about during this season, we still get change of $100. And let me reassure you, every listener here at Her Success Story can well afford that. So this isn't about a blatant ask for Tower or anybody else. It's about showing up this season to give as well as receive. And every little bit we can show up with and we can pass forward, we will make an impact. So, Dr. Tara, thank you again for joining me. Listeners, if you're loving these nonprofit interviews, and I truly hope you are, because I am, please share it forward to your community. Continue this ripple impact, continue the education of what we can learn about in the nonprofit world and how we can be there to help others. Everything we learn, we can take forward. Thank you again, and see you next time.